Hey guys, so it is March 11th, 2021. This is the second vlog, um, to sort of catch you up on how I'm feeling, what I'm going through, what's on my mind. In simple terms, I'm doing better than I was during the last vlog, which is kind of nice. I've been spending a lot of time outside on my porch, just relaxing in the sunlight and sort of just enjoying fresh air and being outside, even if it's not directly outside. Although I try to be directly outside too. I don't know. So let's get started on this. So some of the stuff I want to talk about today is about video games, maybe, since I've been playing a lot of those lately. Or I might talk about, I don't know, what do I want to talk about? Oh, I started I'm trying to start a new belief system for myself. It's going to start with me, but it can extend out to other people if they're interested. But it's mainly for me. And in simple terms, I wanted to create a space that's comfortable for me and is comfortable for other people. One where you don't have to feel like you have to fit into a box to be part of this culture, or you don't need to fit into a box to be part of this part of the traditions that I'll be creating. I want these traditions to not be set in stone. I want them to be easily adaptable, right? Like, it's similar to how, like, some people believe in Christmas, and some people believe in Hanukkah, and some people believe in Kwanzaa, and some people believe in, like, there's also, like, Yule, and there's, like, different cultures have different things. And that's how I feel about traditions, where it's like, I want to create a tradition that isn't limited by anything. As in, anyone can follow my tradition. And as far as my traditions go, I want to create just like a lot of stuff. It's hard to describe this thing I'm trying to make, because it's like I don't really know where to start talking about it, and I don't really know how to finish it, and that's kind of the point. I want to create something that is constantly expanding. It can grow and change according to the needs of other people, but not in a way that excludes me. So that's kind of the point of what I wanted to make, where it's like, you can identify with this belief system or this religion, and it isn't about power, or it's not about money. It isn't, you don't need to have nice candles or, certain crystals to be a good user of this belief system. It can be really something so simple as just like building a relationship with this belief system. And I have a pantheon of gods that I've decided to make, and they're sort of, for me, they're based on astrology, but they could be based on other things depending on who else gets into them. I've only created one deity so far, and I plan on making more and more and more as time goes on, and really fleshing it out and creating a space for people to build a relationship with the deities I'm creating. Because in my mind, I don't feel like I'm actually making new deities. I feel like I am, although these names have never been used, and these the like mythology I'm going to make about them is going to be specifically about them, and it isn't going to be about other things and other traditions or cultures. They don't have to be limited to those things. So when you believe in this, you don't have to sit here and be like, oh, well, I can give an example, because this is part of the reason why I made it. For some people, in different cultures, they don't like it when if you're not part of their culture or you don't know their traditions, to believe in what they believe in. Because for them, it's part of their lived experience. And I sort of wanted to create a belief system or religion that doesn't care about that. As in, you don't need to have a lived experience to worship this belief system. So, like, for example, if you're Greek, right? And like, I used to worship Greek deities because Greek deities connected with me, but I don't have any of the culture or traditions of Greek history as part of my belief systems. So I don't necessarily, and I know that there are people in the Greek faith or in the Greek people who use Greek mythology or use Greek religion, and the same thing goes for Egyptian or Hindu or any of those things. If you're and so on and so forth, as far as it expands, even Norse mythology. I don't want to have to acclimate to somebody else's cultures and traditions in order for me to believe in what I believe in. Without, and then if somebody finds out about it, then suddenly I'm not valid for having the belief systems that I have, because it doesn't contain what they believe in. Which is like one of the major issues I have with Christianity growing up, was that I didn't like that if I had a different perspective on who God was, or and that can be expanded upon, that's not who I am. Like it isn't. How do I word this so it makes sense? So, like, I'll give an example. I'm gay, and if I mention that I have a boyfriend, or I talk about my like beliefs, or like how much I love my partner, if I'm even just saying that I spent time with my partner, I've had Christians come to me and be like, "That's a sin. That's not okay. You need to understand that that's unclean, and you're not disgusting, but like the sin is disgusting." I don't think anybody has the balls to just outright tell me that I'm disgusting. At least in my personal life. I can imagine strangers doing it, but in my personal life, I've never been told that. And it makes me sit here and go, well, I don't really want to talk to you. Like, I love that person, and I respect their religion, but, like, I don't necessarily want to talk to them if that's how they're going to interact with me about my life. Like, this isn't their life. I'm not when I bring up my boyfriend, I'm not, like, projecting my homosexuality onto them. I'm literally just mentioning another human being who I happen to be dating, who I'm spending time with. And they're just, like, they have to bring it and make it about their belief systems. And that's stressful to deal with, and it's frustrating to deal with. So I partly created this religion so that, you know, if you're a Christian and you want to transition into a religion that you know is inherently anti-fascist, fascists can't take this religion. Like, that's like an implicit element of this religion. If they take my gods and start using them, they're not actually using them. Like, I've made it so much that I've basically written a rule book on what the gods are willing to interact with you about and what they're not willing to interact with you about. The gods are willing to interact with you about anything that involves you as an individual and your interactions with the outside world. What they will not participate in is racism. What they will not participate in is prejudice, bias, homophobia, transphobia, stuff like that. Cultural discrimination, traditional discrimination. They are not going to engage with that with you because they don't want to. It's that simple. Like, they just won't. And that's like a fundamental element of my belief system, is that it's supposed to be inclusive. That means even if a Nazi were to go and start, like, using my faith in their own time, the deities will help them in their own time, when their work is specifically tied to them becoming better people, or them exploring themselves, or growing, or if they need confidence, stuff like that, then the gods will help them. But if it extends outside of that and it starts veering into their beliefs about the world in a, again, fascist or a Nazi style way, my deities just are not going to work with you. They just won't work with you because they will not help you with that. They will help you achieve a better version of you, but they will not help you like hurt other people or validate the way that you want to hurt other people. And that's like a huge element of these deities I've created. Even the darkest of them, even if it's a death deity, that death deity isn't going to like go kill a black person because you're racist. Like, that's not a thing that's going to happen. And like, that's part of this, is that this religion is built to help people, and there's an element of justice to it. So like, it just is exclusionary specifically to toxic things, like I mentioned earlier, like Nazis. Even casual racism is going to be a thing that is not part of my religion. Things of casual homophobia, casual misogyny, these things are not, it's not happening. And because I don't want to see that in my faith. Like, that is not what I believe in. And other people can be like, well, you're going to need to believe in something. And I'm like, no, I don't. I don't have to believe in the garbage that you believe in. Like, I don't have to. That's on you. And gaslighting people into thinking they have to think like you makes you part of the problem. And that's part of why I made this new religion, is for the people who feel like they want a religion where, let me give it to you like this. I wanted to create a religion where I, as a white person, don't identify with any white cultures I have seen. I can respect other white cultures, right? Such as Norse culture, British culture, I don't know, Swedish culture. You know, even some elements of American culture that specifically are built by white people, I can have most of the time at a distance, appreciation for, or a respect of, but I don't identify with that. I don't connect with that on a personal level. There's no intrinsic connection between my self-worth, my beliefs, and the collective beliefs of white people in almost any other culture I've seen. So outside of like maybe New Age, but New Age isn't restricted to white people. New Age is a thing that's used, anybody can use it. And then even goes the same to American culture. The elements of American culture I actually really enjoy are normally not for specifically white people. So the reason why I made this was I wanted to create a safe space where white people, and not just white people, it really can be anyone. Because like I mentioned earlier, these deities are not tied to any race. They're not tied to any gender. They're not tied to any sexuality. So they can be, you can implement your beliefs into them in terms of gender, race, sexuality. If you're a black person and you worship a certain deity and then you draw art of them, you can draw that deity as a black person, and that's perfectly fine. And the same thing can go for a non-binary version of this deity, or a female or a male version of this deity, or an intersex version of this deity, or anything that you want to fit it into. And that extends beyond that too. So if that's what you believe in, that's what you believe in. And that was kind of the whole point of what I was aiming for, was a space where you can just be yourself. And for white people who don't identify with most cultures and most traditions, even if they're genetically related to them, have an opportunity to believe in something that doesn't have a history of like trash politics or, you know, genocide or like bigotry of some sort. You get a reset button. That was like the point of this faith, is it's a reset button. There's no purpose to hurting people. And so creating this reset button is the whole point of this religion. And it's a religion that I want to expand and to grow, obviously within the parameters I set. And I don't want to be the end all be all. I'm the only one who gets to say what's happening in this religion. No, but I do want to be clear about how I don't want trash beliefs in my space. So like, if I'm on TikTok and I'm talking about my religion, or if I'm on YouTube and I'm talking about my religion, and someone takes my religion and then starts to break the rules and do toxic stuff, I'm gonna be like, well, I'm just not gonna listen to your opinions, and I'm not going to attribute them to this belief system. And I expect anyone else who also believes in it like I do to also do the same thing. Like, it's there is no limit on who can believe in this. The only limits are, don't be like a piece of garbage when you're believing in it. And I want to now sort of shift into talking about the deeper elements of it, right? So I created 6 dualities. If I can grab my iPad, I'll pull up from my iPad. So the 6 dualities are each based on astrology and astrological, I think it's polarities, where it's, or oppositions also, which is your sign, and then 6 signs after your sign is your polarity. So let me pull it up. So I have the 6 dualities, which are the dual of the self and the other, the dual of stagnation and change, the dual of internal and external, the dual of private life and public life, the dual of individual and the community, and the dual of physical and spiritual. Each are based on each of the different zodiac signs, and each one has an opposite, and the point of the duals is to make sure that you are balanced in how you're perceiving each of the duals. So, for example, if we take the first one, which is like the self and the other, make sure that you have an appreciation for who you are as a person. Yourself is loved and cared about, but when you interact with other people or with other things, it doesn't have to be other people. It can be a whole nother, other could be like even other deities or other cultures, other traditions. You are respecting them and loving them for what they are. And having those, the other specifically pertains to, I would describe as entities, so it's less like cultures and it's more like, how do you as an individual interact with everything that isn't like you? So it's similar to like the higher self versus the shadow self, and how those different things interact with each other. How are you being your best self, and how are you ignoring parts of yourself? And then those things start showing up in your life because you're ignoring those parts of yourself. And then on other elements of this, you have things like stagnation and change, which is, by the way, Taurus and Scorpio. And I would describe this as, sometimes it's okay to just like be still and like breathe, meditate, connect with nature. That's very Taurus energy, where you're just in a stagnant state. And there's also the importance of change. Sometimes you need to move. And I don't just mean physically, I mean like spiritually, religiously. It's okay to move if you want to move. So like, if you want to move to another state, to another city, understand that you're not constantly moving, and all this moving is preventing you from actually putting down roots and building something that you actually care about. But also make sure that you're not rooted so much that you are unwilling to change and actually make a difference that could actually help in your life. And there's a large element of this that sort of ties into multiple different things. And these are just one element of it, right? And I also have a cosmology, which I haven't started writing, but the idea in my head, which I should write down eventually, is basically like the creation myth is that there was an omnipotent, singular, unified entity, whatever you want to call it. In spirituality or in like New Age, it would be the divine creator, or like source, stuff like that, and then or the Godhead, and then from there it created all these different things. In Christianity, it would be known as Jehovah or Yahweh or whatever you quantify as the original God. And from there, at least in my cosmology, this is where it changes, I think, from other belief systems, is God separated into 2 entities, and then those 2 entities separated into smaller, into, I think I went for 2 and then into 4, and then from 4 into pairs, and each of those different things are things you could believe in. So they're each different gods you could believe in, and then they end out with 12 gods who each can pair up and basically fuse to create a new deity. I don't, and this is one of the big elements of the belief system that shifts away from me and more towards other people, is I'm going to create the ones, all the initial deities. So right, so like the big one, the second 2, the 4, and then 6 or 12 or however many I choose to make. And then pairings can be made by other people, and your depiction of what you think those pairs would be like. And if I really enjoy what you write, or if I think that your mythology is really cool, I will incorporate it, because I have everything saved on my iPad. So I will incorporate it sort of into like a master doc, and eventually I'd like to write a book, or to make some sort of, even like a web page or something like that, where people can go to and actually like see these creations. I will cite any person who makes this mythology and be like, this specific thing was made by this specific person. They're the one who wrote this mythology. Because for me, these gods that I'm creating are real. That's like part of the point of this. It's just I'm taking abstract ideas and I'm personifying them so that you can interact with this personified entity, and there are no restrictions culturally or traditionally on how you interact with them. You can be a Hindu person and believe in my deities, and you can incorporate your Indian beliefs into these deities and use the names that I've made for them and the different ideas and concepts and interact with them. You can be a Norse person and do the same thing. And you could imagine a deity I create and be like, well, I see this deity as a Viking woman, right? In visual interpretation. And someone else can be like, well, I've always seen this deity as a deva, or as a, like, you can even have other ones where it's like, I perceive this one as an Orisha, or I perceive this one as, an angel, or like traditional depictions of angels, or even ancient depictions of angels, which are terrifying, or even demons. It doesn't matter. The point is that you're taking what you believe in, incorporating my belief system and the things I've created to work for you, so that you find peace for you. I want to create a hyper-creative space for people who feel like they don't fit in. They don't have a place. They don't know what to do. They don't want to be offensive, or they don't want to, and I'm going to use this, but I mean it lovingly, they don't want to trigger anyone. They don't want to offend people and then have them be like, well, you're racist, or you're this, or you're that. And they're like, well, now you have a religion that's for you. That this is for you, and it's for you and everyone else, and no one can tell you how to believe in your religion outside of, don't be a racist piece of shit. And chances are you won't, because the thing is, you don't have to look at the past to believe in my religion. You can just believe in it in your own way. And I also sort of made this religion to sort of also adopt other elements of other cultures and have it be palatable. So like, for example, things like chakras, right? If you're a Hindu person, you believe in chakras, and you believe that certain divine entities are linked to certain chakras, that is incorporated into this. So each different deity is incorporated to a different chakra. Each deity is incorporated to a different herb. Each deity is incorporated to a different zodiac sign, to a different planet, to a different insert blank here. You can interact with that how you feel comfortable. But there's also like literal things they're related to. I recently made a deity who, I'm sure I will name all these deities and put them on the channel, but I recently made a deity that's the representation of Aries, since that's my zodiac sign. It's also the first zodiac sign. That's why I made it first. And this deity is representative of mythological things, but real things too. So it's representative of dragons. And I made it so that all of the fire sign deities are going to be related to dragons. All of the water sign deities are going to be related to mythological water creatures. Earth sign deities are going to be related to nature and how you incorporate mythology into nature. And, and so on and so forth. And air into air type things. I imagine more like fairies for air. But there's always a thing that incorporates these ideas. And they all rule over their own realms. They all have dimensions and realms that you can go to and interact with. And the more you believe in them, the stronger they become. And the more you believe in them and the more you love them, the more they reflect. There's going to be elements of my belief system that connect with your belief system, whatever belief system you have right now. I mentioned earlier, the divine creator deity is a thing you could believe in. And if you're someone who believes in Jehovah, right, and you're a Jehovah's Witness, or you're a strong believer in that faith, but maybe you struggle with certain elements of its representation, or you struggle with certain elements of its, like with certain elements of the Bible, or maybe you just have a one-on-one connection with God and it isn't about the Bible, or you could be in any faith and really just fit into this as well. So you can sit here and be like, well, I do agree with a lot of what he says in his faith, because you found essentially a substitute for what you believe in now, minus the control that other people can put on you. The whole point of, it's not the whole point, but one of the major points of this religion is it's supposed to free you from the constraints of other people. You don't need to be controlled. Right? So, like, if you're gay, you don't have to worry. You can still believe in Jehovah or God or whatever, be gay, be married, be in a relationship, be in a polyamorous relationship, and still believe in this. And this is also a big element. These gods, sure, there's like a hell, but it isn't a hell for punishing people. Hell is a place, and I say hell, but hell is not really a good way to describe it. Let's just say dark realms and light realms, so like heavens and hells are elements of this faith, but it isn't you're going to be punished because you're a bad person, you're going to go to hell. No, whatever deity you believed in is the deity you're going to go see. There is no punishment for what you do in this faith. It isn't about that. It's about your freedom to be yourself. And nothing you do is going to throw you into a hell pit, or you're not going to be tortured for all your existence. The only element of this belief that has something like that is when you die, you're going to deal with all of the pain you put on other people. That's not you going to hell. That's you experiencing all the pain you put other people through. That's it. And if that's good for you, right? Like, let's say you were a really good person your entire life and you only hurt a few people because of your, you were naive, you were a child, maybe you didn't know better. You're only going to deal with that. And the rest of your life, you're great. Because you also are going to you're not just going to deal with all the pain you put other people through. You're also going to deal with all of the love you put other people through. All of the joy, the happiness, the peace that you put other people through. And ease and, all these other ideas are incorporated into this. Whatever you do, you're getting back. So essentially, if you were to put out negative energy and at other people, you're going to be on the receiving end of the same negative energy you put out when you die. After you have experienced all of the good and the bad that you've done, you get to make a choice. You can reincarnate, you can go to a different realm, you can go to a different planet, you can live in the astral plane, you could become a guardian of lost souls, you could become anything you want to become. That's a big element of this belief system, is that you have the freedom to be whatever you want. That's a big element of this. So if you're like, well, I'm gonna, this is why I mentioned the racism thing earlier. The reason why racism doesn't work with this religion is because if you're going to be racist all the time and you're doing racist things, all of that racist energy you're putting out is going to be put on you when you die. So you're going to sit here and be like, holy cow, I've been terrible to all these people and now I have to deal with that terribleness. And That's going to suck for you. But you also put it on yourself, to put it bluntly. You put that out. Therefore, you're going to get it back when you die. So the elements of that is only based on your choice. You're not going to get punished for being your own person. You're not going to get punished for being gay. You're not going to get punished for loving a lot of people. You're not going to get punished for being a sexual person. You're not going to be punished for, quite literally, you're not going to be punished for not fitting into the role that your society wants to fit in for you. The thing is, if you're doing something that would hurt you, that is what you're going to get back. But if you're doing something that wouldn't hurt you, right? So like if I'll give a very simple example. If I tell my boyfriend, I love you, when I die, I will hear from my boyfriend, not just from my boyfriend, but from the energy, I will, from his perspective, experience, I love you from me. Granted, if I tell my boyfriend, you make me so angry, I feel like you don't care about me, that's what I'm going to hear back. And I'm going to go, oh, I shouldn't have said that to him. Or even if I did say it to him, I don't think that was the best choice for me to say to him. And I would deal with that. And I would handle that. And I would express, I would cry, or I would, if it's happiness, I'd laugh, or I would be, I'd feel whatever I feel. I would forgive my partner. I would do whatever I have to do. I'd forgive myself. You learn these things throughout life, and they reflect in the afterlife. So there's a large element of that. And the same thing goes for deities. When you die, you get to be with the deity you want to be with. Or if you want to be with multiple deities, you can be with multiple deities. If you want to be with a fusion deity, you can be with the fusion deity. If you want to be with the deity of unification, you can be with the deity of unification. If you want to be with a very specific deity in a very specific realm that you helped create, you can do that. The point of this is I want to reinvent the wheel and make it so that people actually have a space where they can love people, where they can love themselves, where they can love whatever deity they believe in, and they know that deity loves them back. And you're not being gaslit by a religion or a spiritual movement or a belief system, and you don't need to be validated by things like science. In terms of your beliefs, don't need to be validated by science. You can just believe in them, and no one's going to tell you what to do and what not to do, as long as you're not hurting anyone. And even if you're hurting anyone, you're going to get the karma for it. And that's a big element of this. I wanted to create a space that was like that, where it's balanced, where it's reasonable. People can't take this and say, you can't believe in this thing because you look like this. No. You can't believe in this thing because you haven't experienced what I've experienced. No. You can't believe in this because you have XYZ. No. That doesn't exist here. There is no... in this belief system, you're not going to be killing people. You're not going to be attacking people. That's a waste of time. One of the major elements of this belief system is helping people. And not just other people, but yourself. It's like sitting down and being like, what do I need right now? Do I need to sit down and relax? Do I need someone to tell me that they love me? Do I need someone to, learn something, right? Am I not teaching other people the way that I think I should be teaching people? Am I not teaching myself the way I think I should be being taught, either be from myself or from other people? You learn that. This is a big element of this. I sort of wanted to create a transient belief system where, let's say, take me for example. I used to believe in, I still do, it's just not in this belief system. I believe in Dionysus. But I would essentially be creating this version of my belief systems that has the belief system that I've created, an equivalent to Dionysus that isn't Dionysus. It just has elements of his realm. So if I were to die and go to a realm that has vineyards and wine and crazy droving madness and, ecstasy and debauchery and whatever. Oh God, hey, how pollen. If you believe in those things, and you believe in that deity, being Dionysus in this case, and you go to whatever pocket realm he rules over, you'll see that you will see his equivalent still interacting with him. It's very similar to, if you've ever seen the movie or the show American Gods. In American Gods, they have white Jesus, they have black Jesus, they have Hispanic Jesus, they have baby Jesus, they have old man Jesus. They've got all these different things, but they're all Jesus. So this is kind of the idea, but instead of it being Jesus, which is what I'm talking about now, I'm referring to Dionysus. So you'd have Greek Dionysus, but then you'd have the wine and madness and ecstasy equivalents of other cultures, of other traditions who also exist. I have a subsect that is for that. So I will have a deity that represents revelry and parties and drinking and smoking weed or whatever you're into. And, or doing shrooms. I don't know. That's why I said it's really whatever you're into. But it could also be more subtle things, right? In terms of joy, it could be gambling or playing games. All of those things fit in with one of the deities I'll be creating. So when you go to their realm, you could see Dionysus visiting that realm. Because for this, they're not that separated, but they're also not the same. They are, again, a specific subsect of this culture. That's why every different culture has a different interpretation of a thing. I'm creating a new culture for my subsect of people to believe in. There's also a big element of this belief system in religion is to help people who have mental illness issues. Like, this is another element of Dionysus, actually, and is one of the reasons why I really liked believing in him and Apollo, which is I have mental health issues. I have depression and I have anxiety. I have a ton of issues with ADHD and autism. And right now I'm actually masking somewhat, but not really. That's why my hands are doing this a lot, is because of masking. Or I'm not masking. And that element of that really helps. How do I word this? So for me, masking is a big issue, and Dionysus was a deity that I believe, and I have believed, would help me with that. I mean, granted, they're not the only deities I've believed in. I've also believed in Eros and Ra and Odin and Zeus, and I've moved through many different deities, and I've seen their different energies, and most of them connect with me. The problem is their cultures, their traditions, and their societies that are tied to these deities do not connect with me. I'm not from Egypt. I don't know about, well, I mean, I know a decent amount about Egypt culture and Egyptian traditions, but I don't use any of them. I don't believe in any of them. But I do believe in their gods. And the same thing goes for Greece. I know a lot about Greek tradition, but I am not in Greek tradition or Greek culture. I'm not a Greek person. And the same thing could be said about Christianity. I may have been born into Christianity and raised in Christianity, but I am not a Christian. I don't believe in the Christian traditions and the Christian faith. I don't believe in the Christian anything, really. I mean, it's not anything, because I do believe in certain elements of their belief systems, but like the parts that I don't believe in are not going to be in my belief. That's why I don't identify with them. That's why, as much as I've had conversations with Jehovah's Witnesses where they're like, but the Bible is the truth, and I'm like, the truth for you. Your truth makes me feel hurt, makes me feel like I'm in pain. And they go, well, put it on God. No. I'm allowed to feel pain, and that's okay. I'm allowed to feel hurt by your religion and to move on to a different one. Trying to control my beliefs is not okay. It's not okay for you. It's not okay for me. I wouldn't want to say that my belief system is right and yours is wrong, because I could be wrong. You could be right. Especially if you're a Jehovah's Witness. If I died, and we all died, and it was the end of the world happens, I die, and instead of when I get resurrected in the end during the new earth, which is what you guys believe in, and God judges me, and God says, you are not good enough Okay, go throw me back in the hole. I'm okay with living in the void. But my belief system, if it's right, when you die, immediately when you die, you will experience every single time you hurt me, every time I hurt you, every single time you loved and were nice and compassionate to other people, and every single time you weren't. You're going to experience all of it again. And then when that's done, my deities, other deities from other cultures and traditions are going to stand before you. And they're going to ask, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Do you want to return? Do you want to do something else? Who do you love? Why do you love? Are you okay? Do you want to go live in one of our realms? Maybe, I could even go to this extension for other types of Christians. If you're a Christian who's more aggressive or demanding, right? Like for example, the kind of Christian who says God hates fags, right? If you say that, my belief is this: when you die, every time you said that, it's going to get thrown back at you. But instead of it being like God hates fags, you're probably going to receive the opposite end of that. As in, God does not facilitate your hatred that you feel for other people. And you'll have to deal with that pain of being hated. All of that negative energy you're putting on the world is going to get put back on you. So, but after all of that, after you've dealt with all the good and bad that you've done, a bunch of gods or pantheons, or even just specific pantheons that you believe in, are going to come to you and be like, even if it's a Christian god, it's going to come to you and be like, I have a realm built for destroying sinners. And you could go live in that realm and hate and be raged and whatever and live in virtuous, splendor as you torture gay people. I don't know. There could be a realm that's dedicated to that. It's messed up, but I could imagine there being a realm dedicated to it, and you could go to that realm if that realm brought you happiness. It's not this realm, the one that you lived in temporarily, in physical reality. It's another realm. And, that's, I think, a scary thought for a lot of people. Well, if all the different religions are real, which is a big element of the belief system I have that is part of this, which is like omnitheism, everyone has a belief system, and that's okay. And it defies human perception that all of these different realities exist, all these different gods exist, all these different concepts and ideas exist and are all true in their own way. Because they're all pockets. They're all pocket realms, pocket dimensions that all exist and are constantly in flux, constantly moving and interacting with each other. That's scary. I don't blame people for being afraid of that idea. That's why they stick to one thing. They go, oh no, I want to believe in this one, my belief thing. If you're Jehovah's Witness, I believe in what the Kingdom Hall says, and I've listened to the Watchtower, or not listened to the Watchtower, I read the Watchtower, and I only read the Bible, and this is what I believe. Because that's what brought you peace. Probably after your trauma, after you were hurt and in pain. And you know what? As much as you guys do stuff that may not be the best, that's what you needed to do to be okay. And to a certain extent, that's okay. And then on the other end of it, other people are going to do other stuff. I'm not saying don't do anything about it. What I'm saying is, everything you've done in the past is what you did. And you're going to have to deal with it eventually. Good and bad. That sucks. But it is what it is. And at the end of the day, there aren't any real consequences for what you do. So, for the people who are mass murdering, they're just going to get murdered by all the people they killed when they die. Like, when they die, there's going to be repeated death experiences of feeling what it feels like to be killed by them multiple times. So realistically, everybody does get their comeuppance, right? So you get these situations. That's why a lot of people think like, well, if you're a murderer and all these things, there should be a justice. My belief system says there is a justice. It just happens when you're not watching, which sucks. Because I think most people want to see people who do bad things, like rapists and murderers and all these horrible things. They want to see them suffer on live television, or they want to be participants in the activity of hurting them. Which, okay, if you want to, but understand, however you hurt them, you're going to be hurt when you die. And that is an element of what my belief system is. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying the truth that's the only truth that could ever... In fact, I'm literally saying the opposite. I could be wrong. You could just die. That's it, and this is the only life you get. I don't believe that. But it's a possibility. So, I believe in everything. And this again is an element of my belief system. I'm an omnitheist. I literally believe that every single religion is true, even when they contradict. Because just because two separate things that don't work together, and one says that one's true and one says that one isn't true, both of them could be true and both of them could be false. In tandem. But you just don't understand that concept because, to be blunt, we're just a bunch of monkeys. Like, monkey mad. That's like how we act. I think we're more than just monkeys, but I do think that we are monkeys. Ultimately. We evolved from monkeys. What I mean when I say I think we're more than monkeys is that we're also dynamic beings that will evolve into higher forms of consciousness, higher forms of life. And or we'll just get wiped out by global warming. It's also an option. It depends on how you perceive it. So, like, you know, there's a lot going on with this. There's so many contradictory ideas and thoughts and patterns and perceptions for so many different people that it's hard for people to just be okay with it. And if a Christian or a person, Jehovah's Witness or whoever, just wants to hear just like advice from a person who doesn't have the belief system they have, but is respectful and cares about and wants them to believe in whatever they want to believe in, and as long as it brings them happiness and helps them help the world, is, if you're right, I hope you make it into whatever you believe Kevin is. If you're wrong, I hope that I'm right. And that it doesn't matter, because you're still going to go somewhere you want to go. You still get to go to a universe where you're with your family. And they have all the memories of everything that you did, good and bad, and they still love you, and you still have a place to be. Because that's part of what my belief system is that I don't believe in a vengeful God. I don't believe in a God that is only set in one specific way. That he only has one list, one set of rules. I don't believe that. I believe that God has a different face for different people. It does different things for different people. And to a certain extent, I also believe that although we all live here on Earth and we're all interacting with each other, the only real people are you and God. And I don't mean like me and God. I mean literally you and everyone else in their own independent relationships with God. So when they die, all the things they did in this realm, in the physical realm, can be recorded by God, but will not be, and I say God, and I don't mean the Christian God. I just mean God, whatever God is for you. So that could be a pantheon of gods. That could be an amalgamation of deities. It could be nothing. You could literally be talking to the universe. You could just be talking to what you perceive as science or physical matter, if that's what you believe in. That's what you believe is the truth. If that's what you believe in is the other. If it's people, and that's all you believe in, then that's what you see when you die. It's all the people you met in your life. If you believe that when I die, I'm just going to blip out and disappear, then sure. If that's what you believe in. And it's hard for people to accept these two opposite things, these two things that are so different. It's hard to have agency too, I think, for a lot of people, to recognize that you have control over where you go when you die. Every bad thing you do in your life is your fault. And there isn't some being that's going to punish you. You're going to punish you when you die. You get to make that choice. If you did all these horrible things, and then you killed all these different people, and you're, afterwards crying because you thought that by killing these people you're doing what was right, but obviously it's not when you're the one on the receiving end of it. You're the one getting all that hate and pain and torture and all that stuff. Maybe your mind will change. I think that's scary for people. I don't blame them for being scared. But I also have a dare, specifically for Christians. Specifically for, people who think their religion is the only true religion. What are you going to do when you're the only one who's going to be held accountable? When you experience and relive every terrible thing you did in your life, every great thing you did in your life too, where do you think you are going to go? Where would you send yourself? Because for me, when I die, and I experience all the terrible stuff that I've done, because I'm sure I've done terrible stuff. I'm sure I've done stuff where I've hurt people when they didn't deserve it, and vice versa. I'm sure there are people who have hurt me and I didn't deserve it, and I'm going to experience all that again. And while I'm a wallowing mess crying, recognizing that I was either a good or a bad person, and then a deity stands before me, or whatever I believe in stands before me. It could be me, but a higher self version of me, or the universe, or the earth, or whatever you believe in. Like I said, God stands before me and says, where do you want to go? What do you think you deserve? What does this version of yourself think you belong? You could say, I want to go back. Do it all over again. Or you could say, take me to a universe or a realm where I'm helping people, where I'm loving people. I didn't do enough of it in this life. Take me to an infinite paradise where that's all I do, is I help guarantee that people are okay and happy. Or I live in luxury. I lived my whole life as a poor person. All I ever wanted in my life was to, I don't know, this isn't my personal wish, but like, live in the lap of luxury. Just gold surrounded by me and extravagant, gorgeous clothing, and I'm, drinking magical wine, and I'm drunk all the time, and it's wonderful, and I'm surrounded by all my family members and all the people in my life that I love, and we're partying, and we're having a great time, and it's an endless whatever. Okay. And that God looks at you and does it. That's what you want. There is no, you were a bad person, you deserve to suffer. Unless you think you deserve to suffer. And some people do. You know how many people I know who I've interacted with them where they've built such a belief system where that they were like, I know I'm not going to heaven. I know I'm going to hell. And it isn't like they're like, because I disobeyed God. They're like, no, I feel like I'm going to hell because I've been a bad person. I've done things that I don't think I should have done. And I did them anyway because I wanted to, or because I was impulsive, or because I didn't care. And when I die and I have to deal with all of that again, I'm probably going to go to hell. And it's their choice, because they feel like that's where they go, because that's where they belong. And again, it's sad, but like, that's the fear of agency. You're going to take you wherever you want to go. I could even go to the extent of saying something more mundane, like, I have a roommate, and she's really into space, and like, spaceships, and engineering, and all kinds of stuff. I imagine that when she dies, she's gonna experience everything she experienced all over again, and I could imagine her just saying, I just want to sit with my dad, or another family member, or with other people who have experienced similar things to me, or even by myself. I'm going to build stuff. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to be okay. Or she might sit and, or she'll be like, I'm going to go live in nature. I want to go live on a nature planet where it's just endless sunsets and beautiful skies. Just relaxing, experiencing the beauty that is everything in nature. That could be what happens. That's her heaven. And on the other end of that, you have, you know, like I've talked to people about this before, like what do I believe in when it comes to heaven, right? Either it be the belief system for the belief system I'm building and the religion I'm creating, or just like me personally, what do I believe in, right? And my personal heaven, in all honesty, this is going to sound kind of weird. I would want to be able to create my own universe. And not like an entire universe. Not like as vast as our current universe. I mean, like, I'd want to be able to create a pocket world, pocket dimension, pocket realm, where I get to take the people I have met throughout my life, good and bad, just the people who mean the most to me, and hug them, tell them I love them, ask them what they want, and then I have the power to make that. Just because I do. I just can. They go, you know, I've been feeling really lonely. I would like to, you know, go see this, go do this, go experience this with you. Or maybe if they're just like, I want to be alone. Can you make me a cabin in the woods? And that's where I live. And I can create that for them. And then I give it to them. I go, here you go. That's what you wanted. You're welcome. And then let them go do what they want. That, to me, would be my heaven. In terms of what I would get out of that, is seeing other people be happy is enough for me. If you were on my end, I would just be drawing, making things. I'd be participating in the act of creation, and not in like sex, but like creation. Like I'd be participating in the divine action of creating. I would be creating places where people can be at peace, people can be safe, where people don't have to be afraid, because I've made the perfect world for them to relax in. That'd be my ideal. That after the long, hard lives that the people I've met in my life have had, I've given them a community, either be isolated or grouped. They could be alone, or we can spend time together. Or if they don't want to be around me, I can send them on their way to wherever they want to go. And that works for me too. And I think that's what's hard for people. They don't know how to handle that. What do you mean you want to go do that? And it's like, I meant what I said. That's what I'd want. I'd want to create a place for people to be okay. Because I think about living in this life, right? Because I'm not a capitalist. I'm not a money person. I don't want to be successful. I don't want to be a millionaire. I don't even want to be a thousandaire. I don't want to participate in this. I just want to be okay. I just want other people to be okay. I just want to be able to look around to my friends and be like, you want to just hang out? And they're like, yeah. We don't have to worry about paying rent or buying food. Instead, you know, maybe we have robots or whatever that can, you know, make food. Just make food, right? Like they grow it and they harvest it and then they provide it. And then in exchange, we give, you know, we can create a place for these robots to feel comfortable around us. And, you know, create a space of peace. But I think that's not what a lot of people want. I think a lot of people would rather be a billionaire or a trillionaire, or have all the money, have all the quote unquote all the bitches and all the riches and all the, you know, whatever they want to have. And I don't want those things. I don't like I like who I love, my friends and my family and my partner, and if I was to fall in love with other people too, that'd be nice too, but I don't I think I'm tired of the world we live in. That's why, like, I mentioned this, I think, last time. If I died, like if I killed myself, or whatever, I'd... And that's not like a, I'm suicidal, no. But, like, if I died, I wouldn't be that upset about it. Because I know how much it sucks to be alive here. How painful it can be. How hard it can be. Like, I think it's hard for a lot of people. You know? And I mean, an element of it is the greed that we live with. It is because even if I was a millionaire, I don't think I'd be happy living in this system, living in this society. Even if I had a really nice car and all the best clothing and I had a really nice house, like those are great, like those are nice things to have, but they're things. They wouldn't bring me happiness. They would make my life less difficult. I right now am not paying rent because of the panini, and I'm not happy. You know, I get fed. I get enough food to be happy. That I get enough food. That I get enough food. I get enough housing, and I'm not happy because. And I mean, right now I'm happier, but I'm happier because I'm doing something that doesn't involve money. Money in itself can be an addiction. To me, greed is a form of addiction. You're addicted to getting and making money. And the high that brings you. Because it can bring a high. It makes people do bad things. Right? Like, you're just trying to get that fix. And what that fix is enough money to afford whatever you want. And not having that can put you in a state of depression that motivates you to go work. And I think that's why there's no limit to how much people will be willing to work. That's why you have people like Jeff Bezos, who, you know, he's a billionaire. He makes more money than anyone else we know, and he still goes to work. He still works every day. He doesn't have to. He really could just, like, I got all my money, bye. And, you know, he liquidates his assets or whatever and go lives in the woods for the next 400 years as, I don't know, whatever alien he is, and he could be fine. And not have to worry about it. That's why, like, that's why I also think that people are lazy, is because if people were lazy, Jeff Bezos wouldn't have a job. Like, if people were lazy, if they got enough money that they wouldn't work, then Jeff Bezos wouldn't be working, because he'd be a billionaire. All of the people who work under him, who are all, like, making $1 million a year, would work underneath him. All of the people who do all these other jobs wouldn't have jobs. So, like, for me, our economic situation and our living in capitalism and all these different things are spiritual for me, because I feel like I'm not going to be at peace when I die. I'm afraid of that. I think I will be, but I don't know if I will be. And I think that because I see the unrest I feel when I'm not working. Even though I'm paying rent, feeding myself, I'm playing video games all day long. I mean, not all day long. I didn't play video games yesterday, but, like, I play video games occasionally. Every, like, 2 or 3 days a week I'm playing video games. Or I'm drawing, or I'm writing, or I'm, you know, making whatever. But those things don't make me happy. I mean, making this religion is making me happy. But I recognize that to fully embody a belief system, you need money, which sucks. Because I just want to make... I don't necessarily want to make money, but like, I mean, yes, I want to make money, but it's not just to make money, or just to make ends meet, or whatever, or just to pay for my religion, or whatever. I wish I lived in the woods with, like, and I say living in the woods, and people think I mean, like, being a homeless person. That's not what I'm saying. I want to live in the woods, in, like, a cottage, or a small house. The house I live in right now, but in the woods, because right now I'm living in a residential area. Or even living in a residential area, but with, like, people who actually want to be around each other, who like each other, who are accepting of who each other are. That's the world I would like to live in, but that's not the world we live in. And, you know, I think a lot of people forget that, like, they think by being like, well, that's not the real world. Why are you so mad when you say that? Because obviously you hate it too. And, like, I wonder if more people why don't more people work together? Because it's like, if you don't like the real world, how the reality is and how tough and hard it is, why are you so adamant to keeping it this way? Don't you want to make it better? Easier for everybody? Like, some people have it so hard that they feel like the only thing they can do is let it out on whatever, like on a business, or on a Target, or, you know, on a local shop, because for them it feels like those people don't care, because they're still participating in the garbage system we're in, that is actively putting other people in danger, that is actively starving children, that is actively making things more difficult. And I know I'm being political, and I get it, I'm a leftist, just a commie idiot, but like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, who cares if I'm like some leftist commie idiot? Like, I'm a leftist commie idiot because I fucking give a shit about you and other people, unlike some people. And I'm sorry to say this, but like, capitalists only care about their own, whatever their own means for that person. Most leftists I know don't. They care about most people. They care about, like, they care about, and this is the thing I feel like people don't talk about, like, they make the jokes about eat the rich or whatever, we hate white people, we hate rich people, whatever, but like, most of those people who say that don't mean that, and you know that, as a person who's also a left-leaning person, you know they don't mean that. So when they say it, what they actually are, what they really think underneath all of that sarcasm, sassy, whatever nonsense, is even the 1%, even the richest of us, even the middle and upper classes, who are in my boat, people under the poverty line, we care about them too. We're just upset that they care more about their money than they care about the well-being of other people. They care more about their belief systems that are tied to suppressing other people or making them feel like they're less than people. They feel like garbage. I don't blame them for being upset. I don't blame leftist-leaning people for that. And I don't really blame capitalists for certain things either. I mean, I do in the sense that, like, you guys are the ones funneling the system to be the way that it is. You actively are participating in it. But, like, and engaging in the ideologies that it furthers. But, like, we don't hate you. We just think you're the selfish ones. You tell us that we're the selfish ones. Oh, you just want to be lazy and not do anything. Yeah, it's better than what you're doing. You're sitting here, literally, not bothered by what's happening in Texas, where homeless people are dying because of how cold it is and how deadly it is out there. Oh, well, they should have learned to get a job and get a home. Really? That's what you think. You think that, oh, they should get a home and a job. Because that's the problem. The problem is, you're allowed to die if you don't do what I think you should be doing. That just makes sense. You're literally just a jerk. Like, that's jerk language. That's not, you're not right. Like, at least not morally speaking. Morally speaking, you're bankrupt. You're broke when it comes to your morals. But you may be right when it comes to your, like, if that's how the world works. Sure. You live in the world. You're the one who is operating that way. You're a cog in the machine that does that. Stop being a cog in the machine. Oh, no, wait, you're afraid you'd lose your money. Because, again, it's not that you don't care, right? You don't think those people, you're not happy that those people died. But you care more about your money and your success than you care about the people who are dead and dying, and could be less dead and less dying. Because let me put it frank, we have enough houses in the world for everyone to have a home. And we make enough food due to automation that anyone could eat and not need to pay for it. And they could have a home and not need to pay for it. And if you're like, okay, well, what about upkeeping that house? If you put someone in a home and they destroy it, tell them they have to stay in the home they destroyed. That to me is what they deserve. Because their actions specifically dictated that. You gave them an opportunity and they squandered it. A job in our current system, working at a McDonald's, is not an opportunity. It's a necessity. It's a requirement to survive, to live, to not be dead. That's the problem. Because if I see a 6-year-old who the system has failed, dying, and you look at me and you tell me, well, maybe his parents should have gotten a job. You are literally a psychopath. Like, you should not be in power. You should not be making laws. You should not be talking, period. You don't get an opinion here. I'm sorry. So if you want to tell me about how I'm intolerant or I don't want to... Yes, I'm intolerant of the dude who just gave me an excuse as to why it's okay for kids to die. Sorry, I know I'm getting very heated and I'm getting very upset, but this is like something that genuinely bothers me. That people sit here and they genuinely think, like, well then what are your solutions? Give people homes. What are you afraid? You're gonna get, like, homeless-itis from them? Wear a mask. Tell the other person to wear a mask. This homeless person. Give them a mask. If you have enough money, you could just buy them a fucking mask. You can buy them a set of masks. How about investing in depots? Deposit locations where you can put, as a rich person, because you've got expendable money that you're putting into stock markets and you're putting into investments and you're putting into all these other things, why don't you invest and put into those things when you can buy a card? Because these do exist. You can buy a card as a homeless person. Not buy a card. You get given a card by the government as a homeless person. And there's a deposit where you can get food for free. Like a soup kitchen. But instead of being a soup kitchen, it's like a giant vending machine. And just give them that opportunity. And if you're like, well, they're lazy or they're whatever, stop giving me fucking excuses for you to be lazy. Because you're the lazy one. Because you have all this success, you have all this money, you have all this power, and you choose not to help those who don't have power. Because I'm sorry to tell you this, homeless people do not have the same amount of power as a person who makes $100,000 a year or more. When I look out into the world, I just want to help people. That's all I want to do. However I can. And I may not be helping enough people. But I want to. And you know what's one of the problems? I'm not rich. And in our current system, you need to be rich to effectively help people. Not just to help people, because you can help someone and be poor. But to effectively help someone, you need to be rich. You need to make more than $100,000 a year if you want to make positive change for the people who have it the hardest in our society. So, if you're going to donate, or you're going to, not even donate, if you're going to do something other than complain or call people names or get into some stupid outrage culture nonsense, cancel culture nonsense, you can be all about that in your own time. But, like, don't call yourself a good person, because you're not. Especially if you make more than $100,000 a year and you're not putting a cent of that into helping the people who have it the hardest in our country. Whether it be black people, whether it be Hispanic people, whether it be homeless people, gay people, doesn't matter. Single moms, orphans. You've got a lot of stuff that you could be helping. Old people, like old people, like elderly people who are in nursing homes. Why not donate to nursing homes? Why not donate to, if you're a technology buff, right? So you're like, I don't want to donate to something unless it goes into technology. Donate to programs, or create a program, especially if you're super freaking rich and you own, or you know people, or you network with people who own big companies. Go invest in making robots or AI or whatever. Donate to those people so that they can, I'm going to be real with you, so that they can take that and help elderly people. They can help orphans, because we are putting money into the technology that, you know, if a kid is an orphan and he's stuck in an orphanage, donate to an orphanage. Or better yet, donate to kids individually. Do you know how much I have seen a positive growth as a poor person when I'm donating 5, 10, 15, which is all I have most of the time? Because even though I'm not paying rent right now, that's because I'm not working. Mostly because of depression. Because the participation and activity of working is just so that I can get a paycheck. I hate everything that I do. I hate it. Because I don't like money. It doesn't make me happy. It makes me feel like shit. It does. Sorry. I know that's me ranting. But, like, genuinely, you could donate to so many different things. But I will say, I put $10, $15, $20. I am constantly in proximity of other people who are also just as poor as I am, who go and they donate to individuals. Go find a random black person who is queer or non-binary or trans person, especially if you claim to be an ally and you make over $100,000 a year. Go give that person $100 once a month. Just give them $100. Do your part. Random person. Maybe hear their story. You do that once a month. If you make $100,000, you could, just to be real, you could send $100 to one person a month. That'd be what? $3,000 a month that you're spending out of your $100,000 yearly paycheck, which obviously builds up over the course of time, right? So that's like 3,000 times 12 is $36,000. So you could be donating a third of how much you make to helping people. But my mindset is also this: if, I don't know, 500,000 people did that, who all made over $100,000, because there's more than 500,000 people in our country who make more than $100,000, did that, the world would be a better place. You'd be helping people. You'd be helping, you as an individual be helping 30 people. Guaranteed you'd be helping. Because that $100 could be the difference between whether or not they stay in their home. That difference could be whether or not they're being fed. And I get it, because I know someone's going to make this comment. But what about if they're drug addicts? What if they're just gonna take my money and do it for drugs? Girl, the reason why we have drug addicts, in case you didn't know, is because of capitalism. That's like why we have drug addicts. Because our pharmaceutical companies will literally give people addictive drugs. And then that person will have a shitty life, and they will rely on that drug to keep them from fucking killing themselves. And then they get so addicted to it that all they can think about is that drug. And now they're doing things that are impacting other people and potentially hurting them. But that's really not that person's fault. Like, to a certain extent, yes, it is that person's fault. They have some level of accountability. But just being like, well, I'm not going to help them, you're guaranteeing that they're going to hurt more people. You're guaranteeing that they're going to hurt more people. You are not preventing shit. You are enabling. Through, negligence. Through being neglectful. I'm not saying you need to be these people's parents, but, you need to, listen to them. Help them. I mentioned earlier, go help create more deposits for homeless people. Go participate in a campaign that actually helps people. Helps homeless people. Helps people who have been sexually assaulted. Helps black people. Helps, again, Hispanic people. Helps white poor people. It doesn't matter as long as you're helping people. It doesn't make sense to me that people don't care. I feel like I'm a crazy person. Am I the only person who, if I had the money, would be helping people? Because, if I had the money, I'd be helping people. Point blank period. And I think that's what makes me sad. And it actually makes me sad. Because, I know when I bring up helping other people, and people give me excuses as to why they're not helping, I'm broke. Broke. $30 to my name broke. And I still go out of my way to help people. Financially. Emotionally. However I can. And what's so funny is that all these poor people expect you guys not to do it. Because they know you won't do it because you don't care. And so you guys use that as an excuse to be like, oh, well, they wouldn't be grateful if I did that. I have never donated to someone without them going, you didn't have to do that, but I am so appreciative that you did. I have never once met a poor person who's ever had a problem with me doing something nice for them. Some people are assholes, and you donate to them, and they're assholes. But who cares? You just kept someone from dying, and you're upset that they're an asshole? You're someone who never has to worry about anything, and you're an asshole by choice. Because you get a choice to make things better, but you don't. I don't know why. But you don't. You don't help. And I'm not saying this to anybody in particular. I'm pointing this out to specific people who do this. Who, when I interact with them, and they give me the response back, it's not my responsibility, they got all this, blah, blah, blah. You sound like an arrogant idiot. When you die, since we're talking about my religion earlier, when you die, based on my religion, you are going to have to deal with all of those opportunities you could have helped someone, but you chose not to. Not because you couldn't, but because you could, but you said no. Because you had your own personal shit that was keeping you from helping other people. For example, if you have money, and you look at me, and you go, I don't want to help black people who are going through it, because they riot in the streets. That is an excuse not to be a better person. That's an excuse. You could put the money out. Put the money where your mouth is and help people. Specifically black people. Here's another one. Let's say you're a kid, right? Let's say you're poor. Or not poor. You could be any whatever. You're a kid. So when I say kid, I mean you're like between the ages of 14 and 20. You're a kid. You're on TikTok. If you sit here and you tell me, oh, I care about black people, but, you know, I don't see any black creatives, so I want to help. Go into the tags, put in black voices, put in Black Lives Matter, put in whatever you have heard about black people that motivates you to want to interact with them. And just go down the list and just like, comment, press copy. I think it's copy whatever, and that tells people that they want to hear it. That tells the algorithm that they want to hear it. And take it, and take it, and take it, and take it. Go on a message board. Go on Reddit. And look up black creators who I could support. Like their videos. Comment on them. The thing is, most people who are younger who claim these things are also the same people who, like, you're not explicitly like, oh, I hate black people, but you guys are like, when black people come up, you don't care. You don't care about that person. Every black person I see, when I'm on Twitter, when I'm on YouTube, when I'm on Instagram, when I'm on whatever, even if they say stuff that I think is stupid and wrong and I don't agree with it, and they are not a person in a position of power, I support them. Because they deserve support, just like anyone else. And what I mean by that is, there are certain ideas that are in, like, for example, Black Lives Matter. There are certain sentiments that black people have as individuals that I just don't agree with. But I will still support that person. Because at the end of the day, I want to support black lives and show them that their lives matter. So I still support them. Even when they say stuff I don't agree with, I still like their video, I still comment something nice, or sometimes I'll comment it and feel like I disagree with you, but I still support you. And then I share that post with somebody else who I think might agree with it. Or maybe someone who doesn't agree with it. And see if we can have a conversation and discuss, you know, some sort of middle ground about the topic that this black person is talking about. Because at the end of the day, you have to treat black people like people, autonomously. But if you don't treat people like people, you're definitely not going to treat black people like people. And if you don't treat black people like people, you're not an ally. You're just another person who's doing it for clout. And I think that's like a big issue. And by extension, this connects to my previous topic about money, because the average black person makes no money. Like, no money. All of their income, government-wise, doesn't come from government stuff. It comes from doing things that are illegal because our system doesn't want to hire them because they're black. When people sit here and they ask me, oh, well, you're saying all this, but if black people wanted to succeed, they should get jobs. They can't get jobs because they don't fit into the white mold. They don't fit into the molds that society has set for them. It's in the same way that I, dressed the way that I am right now, can't become a CEO of a tech company. Not that I want it. I don't really want to be the CEO of a tech company. But, like, if I went to try to go join a tech brand or whatever, might not be able to. Also, some black people can't afford to go to college. And, like, That's a huge issue. And people don't talk about it. Some black people literally can't go to college. So they can't work in the big businesses. Because they can't afford it. And people are like, well, there's always an option. Again, from day one, for black people, they have roadblocks. Whether it be early school life, childhood, low self-esteem, low self-worth. That low self-esteem, low self-worth, and low self-confidence, because it was trained into them in their impressionable minds when they were little kids, prevents them from succeeding in our society. It's fucked up. And then people don't even see how the stuff that they say to them on a daily basis is a reflection of that. Backwards. When they look at the meaning behind what they're saying, even if what they're saying has good intentions and what they're trying to say is good, the thing that they're saying and the logic that would work behind it is intrinsically racist, and then they'll say it, and then people don't hear them. For example, literally everything I just said. If black people are systematically oppressed and actively put in positions where they can't make money or have any success because of the things that people don't like about being black, that is an issue that needs to be addressed and confronted by paying black people, by providing opportunities for black people. It just doesn't make sense to me how you can really be this blind. There's a percentage of it that is just prejudice towards black people and racism towards black people, because there's racism to me is an activity. You're actively being racist, or passively, but it's still an activity. Prejudice is the ideas. Prejudice is how you think and how you perceive those people. And the amount of prejudice that starts out that then turns into racism, because you can be someone who is not racist, you don't do things that are racist, but you perpetuate prejudice, and that prejudice then translates into racist systems. Because you saying something like, well, maybe black people should go to college. Okay, if that's the case, donate to black schools. Well, black kids get lower scores because they're in less income-based places. That's because literally our country, as a planet, not as a planet, our country as a system, throughout history, has segregated black schools from white schools. So all these low-income environments were black schools. And racists needed a lower class to subjugate so that they could stay in power. If you can't see that, that's you being blind. That's not anybody else's fault. That's yours. You're the blind one. No one else. Don't be blind. If you have seen, well, our country has been racist for 400 years. Our country has been racist for a hot minute. But all this racism that has existed in our country still is impacting black people to this day. So when people say you have white privilege, they're not saying it to belittle you. They're saying, literally, even though your life may be easier, you weren't trained from a young age that because of your race, you're a bad person, or you are not worthy of having an education, or you're not worthy of people's time. You're not worthy of space. Some of you have been taught that. But were you taught that by the system because you were white? Or were you taught that by the system because you're neuroatypical, like I am? Or because you're gay, like I am? Or because you're trans? Which, I guess technically I am trans, since I'm non-binary. But still. Because you're not gender conforming, would be the term I would put for that. Because I have had those things, and those things have told people that I am not eligible for certain things. I'm not eligible for this job. Why? You just don't seem like a good fit for me. When I ask them, after the fact, why? And that's because I find out later, I don't look the way they want me to look. Which is a huge issue to our society. It isn't just a black people issue. It is a gay people issue, because gay people look a certain way. Non-binary people look a certain way. Poor people look a certain way. Homeless people look a certain way. And all of those things are an excuse for for people to treat you like shit. To say that you don't deserve an education. To say, especially also if you're neurotypical, they will gladly tell you that you are not acting the way they want you to act. And that partly stems from how you look, especially for things you can't control because you have a neurological disorder. So literally your brain doesn't let you do the things they want you to do. So, and then you're still treated like shit. And that also goes for women too. Women get treated all the time like that. I'm not a woman, but I've seen it. I haven't seen it in practice, but I most definitely have seen it while growing up. Having teachers ignore girls when they say the same exact thing that the boys say. Preventing them from succeeding. And that's even if, just to throw it out there, all of these movements are built on the idea that they deserve to succeed, when the reality is, no one deserves to succeed. Everyone deserves to be okay, happy, and in a home and having food. That's all they deserve. Success is something I do believe you earn. However, some people are guaranteed that them getting success is much harder than everybody else. But like the bare bones of just like eating and sleeping in a safe place, that's not the same. And if you're like, who are we going to pay to do these things? We're going to get robots pretty fucking soon. We're going to be having AI pretty soon that is going to just take care of stuff for us. And when it does, when we begin to automate these machines, people are going to be in that state. But remember, it's going to start with the rich people first. You rich people, you better learn how to make it applicable for everybody. Because although you won't have to take care of your house anymore because you fired your homeless lady, she still is going to know how to grab a knife and stab you to death. Like, just because you want to go find poor people to make as your whoever, whatever, like, your servants, because that's how a lot of rich people are, is they have poor people be their servants. They're the people who take out their trash and do whatever. If you get robots to do that, they can't do that anymore. But guess what? If you don't provide those same people with a home and food, they're going to rebel and they're going to kill you. And they will win because there's more of them than there are of you. And even if you made robots to kill them, you would still fail. Because humans are fucking so good at being, like, ingenious and inventive. They will find a way to counteract those robots so that they fight you. And the thing is, you're also wrong. You're also morally wrong. You're also the person who's doing the bad shit. And you're pretending like you're doing it for whatever. You're like clout among your rich friends. It doesn't make sense. Just be your own person. And let them be their own people. And if you have power, use your power to benefit people. Give them food. Give them a monthly allowance, a BFI, UBI, whatever. Who's going to pay for it? You! And not just you. Literally, I don't know if you know this, but we have enough resources and we have enough houses to where you wouldn't have to pay them. They would just be getting paid. And that's it. If you're like, well, what if the economy fails? Maybe if you weren't charging people to eat and to live in homes, the economy wouldn't fail. Because I'm going to tell you this, if you say, why is the economy failing? Like a fucking idiot. The economy has failed multiple times. And it wasn't because we were feeding people and giving them homes. The reason why our economy has been failing is because you've been charging people to live somewhere. And you've been charging people for food. So the economy fails because you get a bunch of dead people dying from starvation. You get a bunch of homeless people who can't afford their mortgage. Because there is nowhere for them to live. And they're living off of slave wages. That's why people are dying. That's why your economy is failing. It isn't because of poor people. It's because rich people are greedy. It's because our system enables inflation. Because we give people the freedom to spend exorbitant amounts of money on rent. And we let the people who are in control of that rent keep on raising those prices. If you're like, okay, but they have all these other expenses. Why are those expenses? Why do we pay for those expenses? Like, think about that. Imagine if we built a power plant, or a water plant, like a water filtration plant, or all these different things, but they're government owned and they are given to everyone, and no one owns them as a market, and instead it just gets given to everybody in equal amounts. And we do it in a way that doesn't destroy the planet. Just an idea. And if you're like, well, that's not easy to implement. Yeah, because you're fucking greedy. That's why the fuck it's not easy to implement. Because you guys don't want to do anything. You guys don't want to change. You want to keep on making money. If I told you, as a rich person, you could keep your house and you'd be guaranteed to get whatever food you want, whenever you want, because we'll continue making the food. We just remake how we make the food to a more eco-friendly way of doing it. And I just told you, you have to stop focusing on profits and you start focusing on how you can make you and all the other rich people you know, and if you can, you have the empathy for it and the compassion to help the poor people, the less fortunate people, to make sure that they also can have homes and food and power. And I don't mean power like power, but I mean like electricity and water. And we just give it to everybody. And then you're like, well, what kind of jobs are there going to be? Well, first off, we would eliminate the poorest class in the system. So everybody would be middle class. And you have all this extra money. So invest in systems that work above the 4 things I just named. Create systems that aren't about housing, that aren't about food, and that aren't about, what was the things that power, as in electricity and water. How about creating a system for public transportation? Even during the pandemic. Create buses that have doors on the inside that are made of plastic or glass or whatever, and you have to wear a mask before you get on the bus. It's that simple. And not only that, make enough masks, keep on producing masks, right? Eliminate the price for masks. Unless you make one. Unless you're like making masks, like hand making them, like you get custom masks. Because that shifts from it being a necessity, like the masks you need to survive, to masks that you can use because you want to look pretty. So you can get your regular mask, which is the ones that are given to you by the government, and you can get fancy masks that you can put over them. And those fancy masks, you can invest in those markets. Invest in fabrics. So clothing and things like that become markets like they already are. You can have custom fabrics. And that's how people will make their money. It's from custom fabrics. And not fast fashion fabrics. I mean like regular fabrics. Like you're actually making the fabrics. You could just buy the fabric and you put it together, and then you give it to somebody. Not store-bought shit, because that is also fucking terrible for the environment. So the thing is that these solutions are real, and they're options. The thing is, most rich people don't want to be greedy. You guys need to recognize that you're the reason why the planet's going to get destroyed. It is not poor people. The situation you've created for poor people is what keeps people poor, and it keeps people destroying the planet. So the solution is, like, swallow your pride, swallow your arrogance, swallow your greed, and be like, what can I do that makes a difference? Because I know some of you give a shit. Some of you care. I'm not saying all rich people are assholes, because you're not. Some of you are really nice. Some of you really care. You really want to help. Help. Take that ingenuity, that inventiveness that you've learned from working in the market, from climbing the corporate ladder, and incorporate it into helping people. Maybe interact with young people. Interact with poor people. Go talk to your person who only makes $3,000 or $30,000 a year and be like, hey, what do you want? They look at you and they go, I don't know what I want. And they go, okay. Do you have any ideas on what would you as a poor person, right, as the part of the poor class, what would you want that you think would make your life easier? And if they said, I don't know, I can give an example, right? What about, like I mentioned earlier, a public location where I, as a poor person, instead of going to a grocery store, I can go to one of these convenience places, like a convenience machine, and there's free food. I have a card that has $250+ that I get a month, maybe $3,000 a month card, or not 3,000, $300 a month card, where I go up to it, I slide the card in, and it says, "Are you here to buy groceries?" And then you're part of the system, so it'll be like, okay, you make $30,000 a year. If not, we could load that number up to, like, let's do $60,000 a year. You make up to $60,000 a year in whatever job you work in. And if you make under that amount of money, doesn't matter if you have a job or not, because if you don't have a job, you're still eligible. You get to use your card to pay for that $300 worth of food. You get to be okay. You get to take that $300 worth of food home, and you're going to eat. When it comes to homes, create buildings with potential machines, or if it's humans, with maintenance programs. If you live in this house, each person has a job that they clean per part of the house. So you get basically a maid service, but the maids live there with you, and the maid also isn't just one person. Everyone's a maid. And that's part of the contract of living in that home. Nobody pays rent. You all get free housing. You just gotta make sure the house stays taken care of. If you want to go get a lawnmower, there's a government issued lawnmower that you guys get. It's that simple. Now you have a bunch of homeless people who are no longer homeless. And if they're all meth heads, if they're not taking care of the home and the home falls apart, guess what? You can go take people who already have a record of taking care of the previous homes that they've lived in, or have people who like doing that. They like cleaning houses. They're like, no, I actually really enjoy the monotony of cleaning homes, because some people like that. Be like, cool. Well, we have a home that was recently destroyed or not destroyed, but like wasn't taken care of by our last residents. Do you want to fix it up? And they'd be like, sure. And they go in, they move in, they start fixing it up, and then they move into that home, because that's what they do, because they're fixer-uppers. And it isn't about profit. It's about going in there and making a difference, improving the environment. Or create homes that aren't easily destroyed by people. Like, here's a concept. What if you have a metal home where everything is made of concrete or metal, except for like the foundation and the structures around it, which are made of something else? But, for example, the people have to clean these homes, right? There's a metal bed that is just made of metal, and then on top of the metal bed is like a Tempur-Pedic mattress that they get to sleep on. There's a public kitchen that everybody gets to go into and take care of. You can get not pamphlets, but like what is it? Lanyards? No, not lanyards. Laminated. That's what I was looking for. Laminated things that you can put on the walls of every kitchen, and you stick it on top of the kitchen, or you install it there, and it tells them, hey, when you're done eating, take this and put it in the thing. And you create a a regimen. That's what I was looking for. You create a regimen where you have, when a person's done eating, it says, when finished eating, do the dishes. When you finish doing the dishes, put the dishes away. This is how you do dishes. You can have a laminated book that's in the corner of the kitchen. Laminated books that are in each of the rooms that teach them how to clean. Then you have a person who comes in, a manager of sorts, who comes in and says, hey, so this is, it's been the 6th week that this person could get paid because they're helping these people. They already have a home, but they get paid to do this. It's part of the market. And they get paid by the government to come in and make sure that they clean. So they go, hey, so I noticed that the room hasn't been cleaned. Have you checked your laminated thing yet? And if that homeless person, who now has a home, obviously, says, no, I haven't checked the laminated whatever. You go, okay, well, check the laminated thing, because if you do this for more than, 3 months, and you're not following the regimen we created to maintain the home, then we're going to have to remove you from the home. It isn't about, can you pay us? Instead, it's about, are you self-sufficient? Now, if you have people who are mentally handicapped, who also are living in these style homes, either be homeless homes or just a new form of home that we create, you have the people I mentioned earlier who like going into homes and fixing up things. I can imagine there being people who like going into homes, but they also just like helping people, like nurses. And they get paid as nurses to help these people who have neurodivergence issues, right? Like if I panic or have an anxiety attack or whatever when I'm cleaning something because of the way the liquids touch my hands, or because of the way the soap feels, or because of the way that the whatever it is that I'm cleaning makes me feel, and it makes me have a panic attack, or it makes me stim and I'm like, freaking out, or I just get really depressed or exhausted, there's a solution for that. The solution is that I have a person who comes in and is like, no, I'll take care of it, I got you, you're good. And they're also like a person who I'm around. And if I want to do something with my life, I can sit down with that person and be like, oh yeah, by the way, I've been writing in my book, or I've been doing my thing on my iPad, or I've been reading my blah blah blah. And then I can go do that. That should be an option for different people. There are solutions. It's just that those solutions, I don't think people are thinking enough about them. Because they're too busy worrying about how can I make money. It's like, money makes the world go round, but it shouldn't have to make the world go round. Like, it shouldn't be your world. Your world should exist outside of money. Money should just be a tool that you occasionally use. Your goals should be either making your life better or making other people's lives better. If you're making your life better at the expense of other people, you're not a good person. And if you're making other people's lives better at the expense of your life, you're also not a good person. Because ultimately, you're not helping yourself. It's balance. Finding a balance between the individual and the community. You should be helping your community as well as helping yourself. And not just certain people, not just white people in your community. Everybody in your community. Everybody who lives within like a 600 block area. Even the people you don't like. You're still going to help them, because you know what? Even that person who doesn't like you should still be helping you. Because it's important to help each other. Building bonds. You could have instituted a new system of people who are literally, it's their job to come into these neighborhoods that you live in and make that. Be like, no, we got bonding exercises. Some people are going to be like, listen, I'm an introvert, I just want to be alone. Sure, just be alone. And we can create an environment where they can just be alone. But if they want to be around people, you have that as an opportunity. If you don't like someone, we can be like, why don't you like them? Well, we're just not compatible as friends. Okay. Maybe we're not compatible community-wise. You still get a portion of your helping. It's still going to help them, but you guys don't need to interact. But what they're doing or you're doing still help each other in separate ways. There's more to it than just social. You can still be helping people financially. You can still be helping people systematically. You can still be helping people in a infrastructure way too. I think that's what people don't understand. This video is very long. I've been talking for like 2 whole ass hours. And just talking. I went through a lot. So this is a bit about religion, right? This is a long ass full event hyper verbal conversation about I wanted to talk today about my religion that I'm trying to create. And that's going to be expanded upon. I'm probably going to make specific videos about it, so you guys will have that as an option. I didn't mean to, but I did kind of want to talk about, I've been wanting to talk about the issues I have with capitalism, not capitalism and people who are capitalists, more just people's inability to be empathetic towards other people, and how that impacts them financially, and how that impacts them socially, and how that impacts them emotionally. And then lastly, this last thing is really talking about how we can improve these situations. How do we become more empathetic? How do we create systems? And you can poke holes in everything that I said. That's fine. You don't need to tell me. But whatever things that you're poking holes in what I'm saying, how'd you, after you poked those holes, repair those holes with what you think would have worked better? That is my challenge to you. today. Everything you disagree with me on, and you think that I have failed logic or a failed way of perceiving it, go make one better. Make one that you think would work with the same goals, because I've got goals down set. I've got my values down set. I just want to help people. That's what my goal is. That's all it is. If you feel like I'm not achieving my goal with all the things I mentioned, which is helping people, and you don't think it would work, take my idea, build on it, create a system that would work, create a new foundation from my ideas that's part of communication, learning to interact, learning to connect. Even if we're not connecting emotionally, we can connect like systematically, infrastructurally, logically even. And that's okay, because by you taking all this emotional garbage I just threw on you, you could transform that into something physical, something logical, something rational for you. Alright, I love you guys. I'll probably be making more videos as time goes on. This is just a really long video. Like I said, I love you. Thank you. Alright, bye guys. Stay safe.